Breaking news from day 7 of Houston Texans training camp: a season-ending injury, a return to the field, and a tweaked contract following, quote, drama. Let's go inside the locker room and talk about it.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked.
Welcome to the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610, 10 to 2 Central on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app, which is where we talked to John Mechie today. His first interview in town. If you missed that, going to put a video up about it likely tomorrow. But download the Odyssey app. Check it out. Number one source for radio content involving the Texans. There, Sports Radio 610, the Odyssey app from 10 to 2. Number one source for digital content right here. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, thank you very much. If you're a Texans fan, cool. If you're not, best place to get the pulse of what's going on. Subscribe, like, ride along. Appreciate you for coming through. We had some news today at Texans training camp. The live stream tonight at 9 o'clock Central. We'll get into how C.J. Stroud looked. Spoiler alert, he looked pretty good. But the three biggest pieces of news to come from today, starting with the unfortunate incident, Scott Quessenberry is going to be out for the season with a torn ACL and MCL. Not good at all. Was Scott Quessenberry going to end up being the starting center for this team? That's debatable. I know they think very highly of Juice Scruggs, the rookie out of Penn State. He was getting some work at guard. He was getting some work at the backup center spot. But Quessenberry, coming off a very disappointing season in which he was kind of thrown to the wolves, didn't expect to be the starting center. Justin Britt took his leave of absence or whatever you want to call it, and he was forced to take on that starting role, struggled heavily. There was talk that maybe this scheme fit him a little bit better, but scary moment. You could see it from where we were broadcasting, everybody on a knee, and you see Scott Quessenberry get carted over to the bubble/training center. His season's going to be over. Most likely means Juice Scruggs gets thrown to the wolves. Don't know if Jimmy Morrissey is going to be ready or not. Could be a situation where they're kind of working the waiver wire, etc., whatever, trying to look to bring someone in. But in a perfect world, I think a lot of people thought Juice Scruggs would be the starter, but it's a damn shame that Scott Quessenberry doesn't at least get a chance to prove himself. Next piece of news today, and this actually happened after practice. So we saw this. Aaron Wilson had this story. Steven Nelson gets a tweaked contract. It was pretty amusing drama at the in the offseason. The Steven Nelson thing. I don't think the market was going to be that heavy for Steven Nelson. He was scheduled to make 4.5. He can now make up to 6.5. I think it's important to make that very clear. Texans cap, if you don't follow Texans cap, he's the guy to go to for all contract stuff. But basically, Steven Nelson gets a chance to earn up to 6.5. So I don't know what those incentives are going to be. I don't know how easy it's going to be. Some people were asking me, does this mean that Steven Nelson handled this the right way? I would say not, but I will say, and we've been saying this throughout the 7 days of camp, Steven Nelson showed up. Steven Nelson balled. Steven Nelson appears to be getting along with all his teammates at the next level. C.J. Stroud has talked about how much he's mentored him. You see him working with younger guys, and you see him balling his ass off on the field. So Steven Nelson gets a chance to get a raise. If he keeps playing like he has, he most likely gets that. And good for him. Good for him, good for them, and good for Nick Caserio. I don't know that Bill O'Brien could have taken this. Like if Steven Nelson had put up an Instagram post and said, I don't trust anyone with an ass chin, I don't think Bill O'Brien swallows his pride and gives Steven Nelson a contract. But Nick Caserio got made fun of for the vest, and Nick Caserio decided to give him that contract. I know about ass chins a little bit. So shout out to Steven Nelson. Shout out to Nick Caserio for getting that done. Final piece of news, and I don't know how relevant this one is. It's somewhere on the depth chart. I will say the Steven Nelson thing, to show how amusing that was, like Aaron broke the story, credit to him, but Ian Rappaport didn't even touch it, and neither did Pro Football Talk. And Pro Football Talk touches everything. So that kind of tells you just how small of a story that was in the big scheme of things and kind of how amusing it was. No one gives a damn. And they're talking about punters getting waived on Pro Football Talk. They didn't care. Rappaport didn't care. So that kind of puts in perspective. Maybe that was just kind of local, looking at it through local lenses, the amusement that we had with the Steven Nelson thing. But congrats to Aaron for getting that one. Chase Winovich, a.k.a. the wrestler, returned to the field. So interesting stuff at camp on the side field. Chase Winovich, he looked as pissed off as someone who was grounded during recess or grounded while all the kids played outside. I mean, he was pacing back and forth. You could see him almost foaming at the mouth. You knew that he wanted to get on the field. A lot of you might remember him at Michigan when he had the long blonde hair, kind of an edge guy. The Texans brought him in. He's going to have some competition on the edge, but he's just been pacing back and forth the whole time, just foaming at the mouth. You could tell the rehab was intensifying. And today when I pulled up, it was about 8:55. Out of the corner of my eye, I just see this guy just walking like a damn wrestler to the ring. And sure enough, it's Winovich. I guess he passed his physical and he was in pads out there. Here, I actually took the video of it. Just look at this intense dude. This is what he looked like on the sidelines the whole time. Look at this dude. Tell me this guy ain't ready to go. Look at that. Hey, he's walking to the ring like Goldberg. Got the helmet, walked right up there. Look at him. I'm back on the football field. Let's go. Did anyone put my jug of water anywhere? All right, guys. The ass kicker has arrived. Shout out to Winovich. So we had some news. Season-ending injury. Questenberry, what does that mean? That means that most likely Juice Scruggs is going to get thrown to the Wolves. Steven Nelson gets a tweaked contract. That means that Nick Caserio is able to swallow his pride a little bit. Also means he doesn't have too much of an ego, and also means that Steven Nelson's had a good camp. We already knew that. Chase Winovich on the field means that he gets to compete, and quite frankly, I think the odds of fights on the football field with Chase Winovich out there, I think it increases by at least 15%. Subscribe, like, ride along. We're at every camp. We talk to players weekly. We're in the mix. We're honest with you. We're transparent, and we're as close as anyone. Ride along on the Odyssey app, Sports Radio 610 from 10 to 2. We're going to have another player straight off the practice field tomorrow at 11. Shout out to John Mechie for coming through today. And going to do the live stream 9 p.m. Central is usually when we do that. To talk about day 7, including perhaps the best day for CJ Stroud. Appreciate everyone for coming through. That's the breaking news on day 7. I'm Landry Locker. Thank you very much. And remember, when it comes to this Texans coverage, we're all in this together.
Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock.